Yeah, like when it comes to like, I know when in these days, sorry, in these days, so if someone from, like, let's say election observation group or come for a discussion, the questions like everybody ask about, like, were there any election fraud in the 2020 elections? Because so what the military junta says when they stage the coup, like they stage the coup because of the election fraud, and then they said like massive election fraud. And in some cases they also have mentioned like more than like 10 million the issues, the fraud, the names in the electoral roll as well. So like let me go through the timeline about the elections. Like let's say on the election day, like by the 8th of November when the election happened, so we see in Myanmar the massive number of people like come and vote uh, to 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 elect their representatives. So it was like more than 72% voter turnout, and that also more than what we have seen in 2050 elections. So this is like a clear indicator that in Myanmar, the willingness of the people to participate in the democratic process and then to elect their representatives. What happened with the coup? So the junta right now robbed the votes of the people who actually went to the polling stations to cast their ballot. And when we see like in on the election day, so when the military leader, the Min Aung Hlaing, so when he talked to the media, what he has mentioned, like he clearly mentioned like the military is going to respect the outcome of the election. And also he also mentioned that they are going to cooperate with the new government, whoever comes to the power. So it was clear indication that at that point the military was not um, really staging for a coup. We don't know. But at the other, then we see like after a couple of days, when the results come, the USDP, the military aligned party, so they come up with this claim of massive election fraud. And then the later we see the military itself also coming up with this the election, the fraud, the cases and everything. And what we have to the see in this, I think in this scenario, the if there are any election fraud happened in the election, so it has to be like every we know like in every election, so there in the election procedure and the election cycle there is the place where that the those disputes or those issues to be investigated at the end, like through the election dispute process. And then we know like the UEC, the UEC at that point, so we're about to set up the tribunals to investigate, and then to have the hearings that everybody can hear and everybody can present uh, their evidences about this election fraud. So we and we have seen that like there are 287 electoral dispute cases being filed in the UEC. And then out of those 287, 174 came from the USDP party itself. So, and also when you see that the number of disputes that they have been filed in UEC, so this throughout the country, so that if there are frauds, so the best way to resolve this issue to provide the evidence in the tribunals, and then in front of all the parties, including the observers, including the other political parties, and then it's a very transparent the way to resolve these issues. But what happened on 1st of February, so instead of going through that the whole political or the election process to finish the election process through uh, the the EDR. So what they said, like they stage a coup. So that is the issue here, that what we can see. And then like the other most important thing, what the other observers, let's say starting from ANFREL and then the other international observers, the domestic observers, like what they have seen in the elections and what they talk about the election, what they say about 2020 elections in Myanmar. No? So ANFREL as an election observer, so we also have observed the election process starting from the campaign period and then the election day and then the post-election the situation as well. So you can see in the ANFREL interim report, ANFREL has clearly mentioned, let me quote that, like the ANFREL observers reported some inconsistencies in the implementation of the polling procedures. The integrity of the vote was not affected. So we see like in Myanmar, the elections, let's say in 2015, 2018, 2017 by elections as well, and also in the 2020. So there are some inconsistencies, but at the end, the final, the assessment was those small inconsistencies are not really well organized ones, and those are isolated incidents, and it was not really affected to the integrity of the ballot at the end of the day. So that's what ANFREL position, the clearly ANFREL has expressed. And also, let's say, when it comes to the other election observers, like let's say the international ones, the Carter Center also observed the elections in 2020. So they also have mentioned the voters were enthusiastic and able to freely express their will at the polls and choose their elected representatives. So that's what the other international observers says. Let's go to the domestic observers as well. So in Myanmar, there are a lot of domestic observers, like in the national wide and then the regional wise, have observed the elections. Like just before the coup on 1st of February, like few days before, they also have made a statement, kind of a joint statement, like around 12 election observer groups. They have clearly mentioned results of the elections were credible and reflected the will of the majority of the votes. So now we are clear, like we have seen that what international observers have mentioned about these the elections in Myanmar, and also what the domestic observers have said about about this so-called the voter fraud. Like there are no like perfect elections anywhere in the world. Of course, there are room to improve, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is those the whether the election at the end of reflect the will of the people. So that is has expressed throughout the ANFREL and then the other international and then local observers. And then the election, the coup happened on 1st of February. So it, as the Louis also mentioned, like it was unexpected. So the most of the people have surprised when they go to the bed at the night, the next day morning when the people wake up, so that they haven't had any of their phone signal or like their internet connection. So like the whole country was in the total blackout. And then the people heard about this the coup. So from the day first, what we have seen, like the total the repression from the carried out by the junta itself. So like we have seen the first week and then the first couple of weeks, like lot of people come out to the street to protest against the military, and then like in massive numbers. Like it's not just like the very first the few big cities, no, like it's all across Myanmar, like the big cities, the small cities, and then the villages. So we have seen like the massive crowd, like they come out and then they stand against the military, and then the military the rule. And then later in the days, so we have seen the crackdown has started, and then the violence against the people have started. So by today, like by yesterday, so the association for political prisoners is the organization mainly that conducting observing the violence against the people in Myanmar right now. So they have mentioned like around at least 739 people being killed by the military up to date, starting from starting from the coup. So that is like a very large number of people, and also like from that more than 700 people, so we have seen like more than 50 people, that 50 were kids. And then there are reports that coming out from the ground that the direct the shooting at the children when they are like walking, and then when they are playing on the roadside, and also like when the military they raid the houses at night, and then when the kids are there, like they've been shooting the small kids also. So this is what's happening right now in Myanmar. And also the earlier also mentioned like more than 3,000 people are de- detained, and then more than 1,000 around like 1,100 the arrest warrants being issued so far to arrest different people. Like we know that the CDM, the Civil Disobedience Movement, is in. So because the junta staged a coup, but so far the resistance from the Myanmar people is greater than that. So it's earlier it started from the doctors and then the medical officers. They stopped going to the work, and that's how the whole CDM earlier started. But later it spread all across like the public sector, the private sector. So the even up to date, the banks are not really being open in Myanmar. So it's a very difficult situation the people are facing right now. And then the military is right now doing the arresting all the people who protest, people, the state and the government official participating in the CDM, and also activists, journalists, and also you see like they are arresting all the people who can make influence to the public. So even social media influencers, and then they also being targeted, and then they are issuing the arrest warrant for these the celebrities, social media influencers, young people. So that's that kind of repression that we can right now see in Myanmar. And also not that, and also we have seen the massive attacks against the medical and relief of teams. So there are shootings to the hospitals. And also we have seen some of the video footages coming from Myanmar, where like when the ambulance go in the road, so they stop the ambulance, drag all the people out, and they are beating these the medical people. And this is somewhat of situation in Myanmar. So let's also move on to the how the whole flow of information is controlling by the junta right now. So I as earlier I mentioned like the very first day, so they started with this internet shutdown, and then later it become a everyday night the internet shut down, and then there were some days that you haven't had the whole day the internet. But later, so now it comes to a stage where all the mobile internet has been shut down, all the broadband service has been shut down, so the people are not able to communicate with each other, and then also they cannot reach the information as well. So we know like we know, especially in the most of the parts of in Myanmar, like in the rural areas and even in the city areas. So most of the people are still relying on the mobile data. So the mobile data, when the mobile data is not there, so they don't have any way to reach the information. So the most of the villages and then the most of the areas now they have gone to the old era, where that the only way that getting the information is the standard like the normal radio. So that's how at the same time when they when the internet shutdown is there, so we see the massive crackdown on the media, arresting all the journalists, and then the banning the media organizations. Like even the last week, there were reports, some ethnic media organizations in Shan and then the Chin state being raided. So like they are blocking all the ways that the journalist can report about what's happening inside the country, and then the people are not able to get the information as well. Not only that, we also have seen the other hand, like now the crackdown, and then they are cutting off, and then there are a lot of restrictions on the satellite TV channels. So most of the channels which like the broadcast the truth being banned, and then you only have the government media, the Miyawadi, and then the MRTV. So those government media like create their propaganda not only through the media, but also there are reports like in last couple of weeks, like they've been distributing some leaflets. They've been distributing, like they're creating their own propaganda, like why they stage the coup, why we are trying to get the power, and then this and that. So while cutting down all the information flows. So that's more or less what's happening inside the country right now. And also we see the finally, I have to say, so in the ethnic areas, there are massive the air raids. So a lot of people been uh, away from their the villages because of the daily the air raids. And then the massive number of people are going to the Thai-Myanmar border and then the Indian border to get away from those issues. That also happening in especially in the border areas and these ethnic areas in the country.